Oh, it's good to be back. It's good to be back, chat. Back in the sub. Get in the sub, Shinji. Here's your controller, bro. We're revisiting all the memes tonight. It's been a year. It has been a little over a year since the Titan sub billionaire mousetrap was launched and is now resting on the bottom of the ocean. Everyone remembers where they were when the Titan sub went missing. We were watching day after day, counting down the hours to see if they'd be rescued. Of course, we knew that their fate was not so great. But the story, the friends we made along the way, it was all very memorable. So tonight, we're going to review. We have a couple of videos to check out. We have this one. OceanGate is worse than you thought. This video was released originally by The Fool a couple months ago, and I've been wanting to watch it, but then he re-released it, I think, because there was some copyright problems or some stuff. So we'll check it out. We'll check that out. But also, before we get into that, there's actually new footage. There is some new footage of the sub on the bottom of the ocean. And it even has the logo. Oh, no. Oh, no, no, no. Say it ain't so. There's also, interestingly enough, in the last 3 days, there has been a hearing by the Coast Guard. So we're going to check out some highlights from that as well. So I think what we'll do is we'll read through this, check out the highlights, and then we'll check out this underwater footage that the Coast Guard has released. It's only 40 seconds. And then we'll go back and see what made the Titan such a memorable time for us all. But how's it going? Are your bodies ready, chat, to like the stream and get in the sub? Let's see if anyone actually said they were actually going to get in there. I don't think so. Your body is ready. This is what happens. This is what happens if you go inside the Titan sub. This happens in a fraction of a second. Oh, they've got like water noises too. Look at that. This happens in like less than a second before your body can even register the pain. You just implode to the point where I think all the oxygen, all the cavities in the body, they actually just erupt. Oh, that's actually some really creepy sounds. You just turn into a ball and explode. I'm pretty sure this is what happens. Like there's these shrimp. I think they're called bullet shrimp, and they cock their claws and they click them together really fast, and it crushes the air to the point where it explodes. And for a brief second, it's hotter than the surface of the sun. That's what happens. You get turned into jam inside the sub. So it's pretty unlikely that we're going to find the controller. You can see it here, it just instantly implodes. But at least the tailgate was okay. Look at that. That's actually pretty accurate. There you go. You get jamified. You get turned to jam. Tomato Soup Simulator 2023. It's 2024 now, I guess. I guess it was last year it happened though, right? All right, let us have a look at the overview of the hearing. Titan sub hearing latest. The Titan sub, an abomination of a sub. OceanGate chief threw controller at the director's head after the crash. I'll say it ain't so. Look, guys, if you need to pick up a new Logitech wireless gamepad, I've got an Amazon affiliate link in the chat here. You can click here. It'll take you right to here, and you can get yourself a new suite. Because you know the rumble stick or whatever it is that always breaks. The Wi-Fi gets a bit like bad. It disconnects. So you need to pick up 2 or 3 of these. You know, buy a controller for your controller, perhaps. That's probably the way to go. 5 people, including 2 prominent British businessmen. That was one thing when I was previewing tonight's content. Someone said, like, when was the last time somebody got to kill 2 billionaires? Stockton Rush found a way. He found a way to live out the socialist Reddit dream of murdering billionaires. Including the 2 prominent businessmen died when the Titan sub exploring the Titanic imploded underwater last year. Employees of OceanGate, Titan's owner, were giving evidence to a hearing. Watch the stream below. There was an 8-hour hearing for this. We're not going to watch the entire thing. That's too long, I think. That's too much. $26? $26 is too much. They spared no expense. Nedry. Oh my gosh. What's actually like wild, and I'm not sure if this documentary has it in, but one of the documentaries I watched about this, because I was really clued into this. Like I was really interested in this story. They like picked up shit from like Home Depot to build the sub. I think they used like truck weatherproofing on the exterior. I'm pretty sure I heard that. And they just like they were just storing it out in the elements. They were using fiberglass instead of titanium because it was cheaper. And they're like, well, nobody's ever used titanium. No one's ever used fiberglass before. Well, I wonder fucking why. A big surprise, because the funny thing about fiberglass is it has a tendency to just randomly explode when it has fractures. Whereas steel, or metal, titanium, you can kind of you can hear the sounds, you can see the cracks or the dents as they begin to form. Jeff has been covering the entire 5 hours of the hearing. Well, that might be pretty good too. If you're interested in that, you could also check out his stream. All right, let's see. Where were we? Key points of the hearing. The hearing continues to investigate the Titan tragedy, with former employees giving testimony. The Titan was an abomination. OceanGate chief threw controller at director's head after crashing sub. That's the last thing. They throw the controller, the Wi-Fi disconnects, does the little, like, the desync sound like that, boop, boop, and you're like, oh shit. Company designed to make money was very little science, says former director. Well, that's the funny thing about these sort of projects, is you kind of just throw shit at the wall and see what sticks. And the regulations are written in blood. At least they are in the aviation industry. I can only say it's probably the same for the sub industry as well. OceanGate found it would fly off the handle and had total disregard for safety. The funny thing is, if he got away with it, let's say he actually got away with it, just by sheer luck, by sheer chance, he figured a way to make this all work. He'd be called a visionary. But because he's dead, we just make fun of him. I mean, many such cases. Explained what happened on day one of the hearing. Last messages from the sub before implosion revealed. Oh, that'd be interesting. During earlier mission, Titan was found partly sunk. Oh, that's the picture, I suppose we're going to watch in a moment. What happened to the submersible? Let's see what happened to the last message. I'm actually not sure what the last message was. Last words heard from the crew were all good. Oh, no. Look, chat, if you're doing all good tonight, put an all good in the chat. Like, that's how I can explain my life right now. It's all good. Nothing to worry about. All good, bro. All good. We now bring you an animation shared by the US Coast Guard earlier in the hearing. It shows the last words heard from the sub. We're all good. The crew on board had been communicating with staff on board the support vessel, the Polar Prince, by messages. Contact was lost after an exchange of repeated inquiries from the Polar Prince about the submersible's depth and the weight it descended. Polar Prince then asked repeatedly if the Titan could see all the ships on its onboard display. One of the Titan's final responses, which came spotty as it descended, was, all good here. All right, let's take a look at this. What is this animation? This might be interesting. Is it going to... All right. Wait, I think I've got this on a... Yeah, this is one that I've also got on a different thing. I've got it loaded up. Here it is. On the Australian. It might be a bit larger, but it's still like a shitty short video. Wait, can't you just change this to, like, watch? If you just change that to watch, I think it goes onto, like, full screen. Yeah, there you go. Look at that. I mean, it's still going to be in 16:9, but then you can use it in the original YouTube player. Oh, cool. We've got little sub noises. All right, the final moments of the Titan Submersible have been released. Okay, looks good so far. Text messages between a sub and a support vessel revealed, showing fractured comms. This is their little journey out to the Titanic in the middle of the ocean. I like the submarine noises. So there's a bar in Osaka, the Submarine bar, and they play little submarine noises, and they've got like little lights with the fans going over them. It's very kino, very aesthetic. All right, let's see how far they got. PP. Look, if your PP is talking to you, you might have a problem. But no, that's the Polar Prince. Do you see Polar Prince on your display? Do you see Polar Prince on your Evo Logics? Are they using Evo gear from like the fighting community? No, of course it's different. Evo Logics display. Looks like they're about halfway down. Do you see the display? Do you see the display? They just keep saying the message. Do you see the display? No spam. No spam in the chat. No spam in the chat. They just kept descending. Oh, that's... K. I mean, sorry, I can't make this any larger. It just says K. So they sent 5 messages saying the same thing, and Titan left them on red. And then they just say K. So you can tell that whoever is operating the controls is big mad. And then Titan responds K. Do you see the polar prints on your display? They ask again. Left on red 3 more times. Oh my goodness. Yes. Lost system, O, and chat settings. Oh no. This is pH. ACK status? ACK. I'm sure ACK stands for something, but when I think of ACK, I think of the meme of the guy like choking, going ACK. So I feel like that's not a good thing. Do you see the polar prints on your displays? This is pH. Hi, pH. Oh, is that what's the guy's name? I forgot. This is pH. This is pH. This is pH. All good here. The final message. Oh, acknowledged. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Okay. Okay. This is what I said. This is what I said though. Like the problem with water is that water is a really good insulator and protects radio waves from getting through it. That's why you don't really have typically a lot of underwater drones, like with radio controls. They're all wired controls. I feel like this submersible should have been tethered so they could have had real-time reporting instead of sending these delayed messages through the water. Maybe they did have something like that, but it seems like these they were having a problem with their comms in all. It is a couple thousand meters. I think it's like 3,000 meters at the bottom of the ocean, though, at this point. So maybe they just didn't have 3,000 meters of spool for it. But I really think like the whole idea of the submersibles, like, are not a good business strategy anyway, because like it's not that fun. Like it looks like it's terrible in there. Like you're stuffed in here like this. I feel like it would be much better to instead of investing in like cheap submarines, it'd be much better to invest in immersive virtual reality to the point where it feels like you're astral projecting yourself to the bottom of the ocean, and then just have little tethered drones swimming around the Titanic, and you can control them personally. It feels like you're really swimming under the water, sort of thing. You know, I feel like that's the best thing. Like, of course, there's always going to be thrill seekers that want to actually be there, but if you're inside this small tube and you've got like 3 inches of glass in front of you, what's the difference about looking in front of like a TV screen? Honestly, what's the difference? It's not like going to space. If you go to space, at least you get to be like weightless. Inside this sub, it's like 8 hours descent, 8 hours ascent, and then you can see through a tiny window. Shit in a shoebox until you get your controller past you for your turn, and then you go back to the surface. You can't see shit. It'd honestly be a better experience just to use like VR for this sort of thing. Like, but obviously more advanced VR, in my opinion. All right, let's take a look. Oh wait, actually, let's go back up to this. I want to see OceanGate Chief through controller at director's head. Let's see this one. I want to see that. OceanGate Chief threw controller at the director's head after crashing sub. Former OceanGate director David Lockridge says Titan was just a concept when he arrived in 2016. He tells the hearing of repeated system failures with the predecessor submersible, Cyclops 1. I don't think Cyclops is a good name for a sub. I know it's probably called Cyclops because they got one like viewport or something, like one window, but I think that's kind of like a bad name. I mean, Titan wasn't much better though. There was a serious shift within the organization by summer of 2016, he says, adding that he was phased out completely. This came after he embarrassed the CEO by telling him he shouldn't pilot a sub. Stockton Rush refused, so Mr. Lockridge and 3 paying passengers then went on board, he tells in the hearing. Mr. Lockridge says Rush drove the sub smash into the wreck, but he still refused to listen to guidance. It was an absolute mess, he says, even before Rush turned the submersible 180 degrees and sped and drove it full speed into the port side of the bow. Mr. Lockridge said he repeatedly tried to retrieve the controls from Rush, who refused until the paying client shouted at him. He literally is like, give me the controller, bro, it's my turn. And he refused to share. That's why you always need to get 2. You get the Mad Cats. Of course, you can on Amazon. Get 2 in case you have a co-op mode. Rush then threw the PlayStation controller at the right side of Mr. Lockridge's head, he tells in the hearing. Oh, no. What an idiot. What an absolute idiot. All right, let's take a look at the footage of the actual sub. Let's have a look. So this is the recently released, I believe this is just released like 16 hours ago. This is underwater, so there's no audio. It's courtesy of the Pelagic Research Services. I hope they sneak in some pelagic nightmares in it as well. Like there's a little spooky Cthulhu boy off the side or something. But let's have a look. They're at a depth of 3,700 meters. That's about the same height as Mount Fuji, actually. That's kind of crazy. I've done the... Oh, look, there you go. That's all that's left. Can we spot... Is that the controller? No. If we could just see the controller, I'd be so happy. But I'm pretty sure it died in the explosion. Along with other people. What are the pelagic nightmares out there? I can see a fish. What horror? What horror is in the darkness beneath the waves? Is that a fish there? Is that a squid? That's all. Very, very limited. But very funny that the branding is intact. Look at that. It's like it still looks clean. It looks fresh. This should be an ad for their Titan 2 expedition. It's like, let's go see Titan 1. I think there's actually a Simpsons meme about that, where they've got like the glass bottom boat, and they're like looking down. There's nothing down there except the remains of the first glass bottom boat, and then there's like sharks poking through the windows and shit. Oh my gosh! All right, let's take a look at a look back. OceanGate is worse than you thought by the Fool.
In
Let me know how the audio
1912,
stays.
the Titanic claimed 1,500 lives.
Oh my goodness, is this an Australian we're listening to? Remastered version for blocked regions. There may have to be pauses in this because of
In 2023,
videos of the
it claimed
Titanic
5
movie.
more.
Hi, my name is Stockton Rush. I'm the CEO and founder of OceanGate. Let's take a look at Titan.
Stockton was designing a mousetrap for billionaires.
Mousetrap for billionaires. I like to think he's thinking of the board game. Did you guys have that when you were a kid? Mousetrap? It was like, if you didn't play it, what it was a really cool little video. Not video game. It was a regular board game, Mousetrap. It was like, you'd make these like Play-Doh mice. Was it Play-Doh? No, I'm thinking of a different... No, I'm thinking of Grape Escape. Did you guys ever play Grape Escape? That's actually more fun than Mousetrap. Mousetrap is the one that everybody knows about. Grape Escape is the one that I played when I was a child, unironically. But here's Mousetrap. So you've got like your little mouse, you got little mouse boys, and you have to run around the map, and then like the marble falls down and it like catches you. It's really fun. But what I had when I was a kid was Grape Escape, which is just I'm not sure if anyone else, like, unironically, this is a real game. This is a real game. It's not even a parody or anything. This is a really fun game, by the way. Look at that. This is the one that my parents played. So you'd make your little Play-Doh grape boy. So you can see there's a yellow one, there's a green one, there's a purple one, and then you'd go around the map in the exact same way you'd go around Mousetrap. But sometimes your little Play-Doh guy would just get cut in half, or you get squished on this thing. There's like these big arms that like pull the roller over. The boot that stomps on you. Like, look at this. Look at this. This is a real game. See? Let me just hold on. I'll just resize this. I'll resize this so you guys can see it perfectly. There we go. Yes, there we go. This is the game. This is the game. This is the game. Squish 'em, squash 'em, the game. This is what I spent my childhood doing. Playing. Oh, sorry. Grape Escape. Sorry, I shouldn't have cut it off like that. It's a little bit different. A little bit different like this one. All right, anyway. Let's return. That was a fun game. Unironically, a very fun game.
A submersible vessel which takes people to see the wreck of the Titanic has gone missing in the Atlantic Ocean.
Tonight, an international search operation is underway.
Like the Titanic, it was a disaster just waiting to happen.
See, that's the delicious irony of it all. The hubris of the Titanic saying it was unsinkable. And then the hubris of the OceanGate director. He's just like, I want to be Elon Musk, but for the ocean. I want to go down there and be SpaceX, but we could go underwater. We could build cities down there. It'd be like Rapture.
Broken some rules to make this. I think I've broken them with logic and good engineering behind me.
At some point, safety just is pure waste.
Safety is a pure waste. Oh my God.
Metal submersible vessel that has not been approved or certified by any regulatory body.
He quite literally and figuratively went out with the biggest bang. And who was the last person to murder 2 billionaires?
Good point. He got to live his dream. Titanic 2, when subs implode. Disclaimer, this is fair use. This is not an endorsement to harass anyone featured in the video. Don't be a fool. Chapter 1, Stockton Rush. That's a very unique name. I don't know anyone named Stockton. Is that a good name? I feel like that's a very rich person name. Like, you don't see any poor people called Stockton.
Stockton was supposedly a very smart boy, a graduate of Princeton University, and the
I
youngest
mean, not very smart, I suppose, but
jet transport pilot in the world.
Yeah, I wanted to be an astronaut. That's why I got an engineering degree. I watched Star Trek, Star Wars, all the video, and I wanted to see those alien life forms. And eventually I realized, one, I wasn't going to go to space, and I wasn't
not with that attitude. You got to have a little bit of faith, right?
going to get to Jupiter or Mars. But I did realize that all the cool stuff that I thought was out there is actually underwater.
Stockton had become an expert in aerospace engineering. He did this in hopes of becoming the first person to set foot on Mars. But unfortunately for Stockton, someone else was likely to beat him to it.
Do you think that Elon Musk is going to have a similar fate? Do you think he's going to try and be like, there's no way that Elon Musk is the first person on Mars. Now, maybe one of his rockets goes to Mars, but he's not going to be the first astronaut. I think that he loves himself too much to put himself in danger. And I've seen some of those SpaceX rockets, and they're not doing as good. They're doing better than Titanic, don't get me wrong. But no, I think Elon's going to wait until it's very safe to go down there.
And one day, we will indeed occupy Mars.
And maybe that's why Stockton decided to create the SpaceX of the ocean.
We always called ourselves SpaceX for the oceans. When I first met Stockton, he struck me as a very intelligent person. He also struck me as a very savvy engineer. Elon's doing the same thing at SpaceX, right?
No, I'm not sure. I'm not sure Elon's going down to Home Depot to get rust sealant for trucks and putting it in subs. I'm not sure Elon's using the Logitech Cooltech or Mad Catz controller to pilot his rockets.
So Stockton's obsession with space quickly became an obsession with the ocean.
And what I wanted to do with the business was just move the needle, get people excited about the ocean, explore the ocean, and discover what was out there.
Stockton's philosophy was simple. Why would we use resources to explore space when we haven't even fully explored Earth and its oceans? There's so
because space has literally infinite resources. Literally everything is in space. The ocean is pretty interesting, don't get me wrong. But the amount of untapped resources in the ocean are finite. The untapped resources in space are literally infinite. There's like a planet made of diamonds out there, guys. It's just all diamonds. It's my whole planet made of diamond. It's amazing. There's everything. There's so much water and shit out there. There's so much gold, and I think most of the gold on Earth is actually from meteors, isn't it? Like a big golden meteor hit Earth once, and that's where most of it came from. Obviously, it's an element, I believe. So it's like it's natural as well, but a lot of it comes in the form of space shit just hitting us. That's where we get lots of the minerals and materials from our things. Diamonds are worthless? No, you can make drills out of them. They're clearly not worthless.
Explore in the ocean, as only 25% has been mapped with modern technology.
There will be a time when people will go to space at much less cost and very regularly. I think the same thing's going to happen going underwater. It's going to get less expensive and much more accessible. That's where we're going to have cities, and that's where people are going to be. They're going to be down there exploring. To me, we'll have cities underwater.
I've heard this philosophy before. It seems like his plan is that there's no land on the ocean. I think I've heard this before.
But she wasn't smart.
Instead of making houses, maybe you should make land.
For Rita had only mentally progressed
on the ocean
to the level of a first grader.
There's no land on the ocean.
Michael might have noticed her disability if it had not been masked by her English accent.
You're brilliant.
No, she's not. But I do miss Rita and Arrested Development and the Mr. F saga. That was great. Yes, she is an MRI, but be careful, guys, even though I could fix her. Dave with £5 says, a first-year engineering student could have told you that this was a bad idea to use a composite material. Dude was an idiot. It's a death trap from day one. Well, the thing is, a lot of people did tell him he was wrong. He just didn't listen because he wanted to be the first. Well, not even the first, but he wanted to be the name and the face of the ocean exploration in the same way that Elon is trying to become the face of space exploration. Michael says for $2, who told you about the diamond planet? Shh. All right, it's our little secret. It's our little secret.
Before we have them up in space.
But there isn't really that much reason to build cities underwater. I mean, they're very cool, don't get me wrong. Underwater cities are fun for research purposes, but it's better to live above the ocean than below the ocean for many reasons. First of all, safety. Second of all, the sun. You just sort of go crazy if you go underground. Like people that live in submarines, people that go down, like military or Navy boys for like 6 months underwater, they're insane. They sleep in these little like tubes, and somehow they get like fake sunlight from like lamps and shit. They go insane down there. The ocean madness. But you have to remember that ocean madness is no excuse for ocean rudeness. But no, build cities on the ocean. Maybe on the ocean's an interesting idea. But unless the air is poison, unless you're hiding from aliens, there's really no reason to build a city underneath the water, except for interesting factors. And even if you are building something underwater, don't build it in the depths of the ocean. Because it's boring down there. Honestly, it's dark. There's nothing to see, and it's very difficult to get up and back and do things. Like a little bit under the ocean, like a couple meters, where it's still you can see light, the blue water. You can see like living in an aquarium. Basically, that's kind of cool. There are restaurants like that that you need to use submarines to get to. But building like the actual like Rapture from BioShock, not a great idea, and not a lot of reason to do it.
Yeah.
And this was Stockton's vision, an underwater city that would provide humans with sustainable resources for generations.
If you think of
There's sustainable resources on the surface. I know this is hard to believe, but we have food on the surface. I know the government wants to tell you that we're running out of. It's not really the case. There's actually a lot of food on the surface. The poorest of us are fat. Okay, so like this idea of living under the ocean. Well, there's just loads of food down there. Why? Is there farms? Have you seen, like, this is what the actual surface of the ocean looks like down there. There's nothing. There's shit down there. Anyway.
About the Earth is really the landmass that we all occupy, then there are 3 planets worth of resources available in the ocean. Minerals.
What? There's 3? How does this work? We currently live on the planet, but there's 3 times the resources underneath the ocean. That math don't add up, my friend. The ocean there's actually more land than there is ocean. I know you think that the Earth is like 60% water. That's actually not the case. The surface is 60% ocean, but there's actually comparatively not that much water. If you look at like the actual amount of water compared to Earth, like let me see if I can find this for you. Water compared to Earth on Earth comparison. The oceans are actually fairly shallow. Like this picture is going to make you angry. This picture is going to make you really angry when you see it. Trust me. I had to look this up to see how much of a meme this was. Okay, look, this picture is going to make the entire chat angry. This is how much water there is on Earth compared to the Earth. All the water in, on, and above the Earth. Liquid fresh water, fresh lakes and rivers. Well, I mean, I guess that's the fresh water. That's the lakes. That's the world's water in fresh water. So, okay, it's not exactly what I was thinking of, but that's still a pretty silly word. That's the wrong picture I was looking for. But it's not much better than that. It's not much better than that. Kind of made myself look silly there for a second, didn't I? Where's the... I need to see all water. I need to see all water. All water. Because it's not as much. Oh, this is it. Okay, this is maybe what I was looking for. I think this is it. All right. That's all the water on Earth compared to the globe. Okay? It's not actually that much. It's not that much water down there. The thing is, the Earth is round and there's a lot of space inside a sphere. There's not as much space on the surface. That's where the confusion comes from. Fake picture, Earth is flat. Okay. Canada has 50% of the fresh water. Well, you can keep it. Just stay in Canada. Let me see. Megals says for 2. Or maybe because it's 70 degrees Celsius above water. What the? 70 degrees? What? You're saying that's why we'd live underwater if it was really hot above the surface? But it's not Celsius. It's like 20 at the moment. 20 to 30 degrees Celsius. Did he say 3 planets worth of food? Yeah, he said there's like 3 planets worth of resources under the ocean, which makes no sense. Because all of the resources on Earth are on Earth. So how can there be more Earth, 3 times the Earth, under the ocean? It doesn't make sense.
Chemicals.
This is fish propaganda. Yes, that's exactly what this is. This is fish. This is fishman propaganda. Don't listen to Aqualad over here. If he wants to be an aquatic man so much, let him drown. Oh, wait, he did.
It's biological. It is a vast, huge opportunity.
An opportunity that was being overlooked
Thanks,
in
Drew.
favor
How's
of
it
space exploration.
Establishing a self-sustaining base on Mars.
The future of mankind is underwater. It's not on Mars. We're not going to have a base on Mars or the moon. You know, we'll try and waste a lot of money. We'll have a base underwater. Because
You wasted your entire life. The future of the of what humanity's future is underwater. This doesn't make sense. We left the water. Okay, like living on land is an improvement. We climbed out of the ocean to become cognate, like thinking creatures. Going back down, why?
when the sun
Like he's obviously like got some fish fetish. I think we can all agree with that.
when the sun extinguishes, there will still be hydrothermal vents, and there will still be those life forms down.
When the sun extinguishes, this guy's a lunatic. The sun extinguishes, we'll live underwater. If the sun extinguishes, why don't we leave the Earth and go to another planet? Oh my gosh. 5 from 200 Studio says, then what was his problem? His calculations were way off. Well, I mean, obviously they were. Like he got what he coming to him for it, but like, holy shit. I think he's just trying to sell the ocean. Like the ocean is, I love the ocean. I really like the ocean. To visit. I don't want to live there.
They're living off chemosynthesis that don't need the sun. You know, if we trash
This is the future. This is the future that he wants. He wants us to live underwater in the dark depths, like little trilobites or troglodytes in caves, going blind, and our skin turning pale and sickly white and translucent. He literally wants to become a deep one. When the sun goes out, I think when the sun goes out, will the Earth just be flying through space? Like obviously the sun will when the sun extinguishes. Does it turn into like it turns into like a dwarf sun, right? Like a red dwarf, and then like because I don't think our sun's big enough to become a black hole. So our sun's I think it doesn't have enough mass, so I think it would extinguish. So at that point, will their sun have enough mass after it's burned away all of its fuel to keep the Earth in its orbit? And if the answer is no, then the Earth would just be hurtling through the depths of space, waiting to hit something. I mean, obviously it would take billions of years. But still, why wouldn't we want to just leave the Earth at that point? It makes no sense to stay there. An eye for £5 says, that image looked crazy, but how big would a drop that fully submerges all habitable land be? I bet not much bigger. It doesn't have to be, no. Because it does spread out over a surface. That's the thing about spheres, is they're very good for reducing surface area.
The best lifeboat for mankind is underwater.
But getting humans to the bottom of the ocean is a very difficult task. It's dangerous, it's expensive.
There's a regulatory challenge.
And the current regulations wouldn't allow Stockton to build a submarine that could go deeper than 150 feet.
But I have to kind of take umbrage with the video, though, because if he's in international waters, or actually, is the Titanic in international waters? But surely he could just go somewhere where there's no law and then use his illegal submarine.
I think over time, Stockton just realized that the only way we were going to be able to help humanity unlock the secrets of the ocean was to get past the regulations and just prove that it could be done as safely as possible.
But he was just he wasn't trying to save mankind. He was trying to save his bank account. He was doing a tourist operation. Now, I guess you could argue that if there's interest in the sea, then it would add to the interest of living underwater if there was a more, readily easy way to travel across the ocean depths. Maybe, sure, but let's be real here. He was an explorer, sure, but he was trying to become richer by becoming the head of his own little industry.
At some point, safety just is pure waste. I mean, if you just want to be safe, don't get out of bed, don't get in your car, don't do anything. Yeah. At some point, you're going to take some risk, and it really is a risk-reward question. I said, I think I can do this just as safely by breaking the rules.
Well, he was wrong. But like, here's the thing: there are different, just this "don't get out of bed" idea. There is a scale of safety. Okay, there is not getting out of bed, which is like, well, we'll put safety down here, right? Like, this is the safest you can be. Getting out of bed, getting on a bus, going to the shops, a little bit dangerous. But then there is this, which is going to the bottom of the ocean in a fiberglass tube. It's not an A/B question. You can choose a middle ground of being slightly, maybe do mountain biking as a hobby, a little bit of daring or something. It's not as binary as he makes it sound.
Few years, Stockton continued breaking the rules. He'd go on to document his entire journey in 4K, and he'd give lectures on submarine safety along the way.
And one of the things I came up
Does he? Maybe not the most qualified guy to be giving this speech, but okay.
with the myths. One is that subs are dangerous. And in the last 35
Oh my god. The myth, subs are dangerous. Not true.
5 years, there hasn't been a serious injury, and there have been over 15 million people go in them. But they're statistically the safest vehicles on the planet.
The previous subs were safety. There's not many accidents on subs that are deemed safe. Your sub is not safe. You don't just get to have a look. Like very few people go underwater as a proportion of the amount of people that are on the planet. And the people that do go underwater go down on metal subs that have been tested, tried and true designers, and obviously have been certified. So if I just get like a bathtub, 2 bathtubs, and slay them together, that my new submarine doesn't have the same safety quota as those previous people going down there. So what is he trying to say? This is just billionaire Silicon Valley talk, where you just take some random statistic and make it sound like you're a-okay to go down there. The safest vehicles on the planet. When the bus, like, maybe the bus like driver, he goes into a power pole, most of the people on the bus are okay. And even if the bus does catches on fire, you can jump out the emergency exit, jump out the back window. When you're bolted inside a submarine and things go wrong, if a fire starts in the submarine, where the fuck are you going to go? Okay? Even if you could get outside the submarine, you'd be destroyed by the pressure. You'd just be crushed or asphyxiated. This is the scariest thing about going down on these things as well, because even if the sub had not imploded, even if the sub was on the surface, but it just got blown off of course or something, like let's say the engines of the sub go out, it goes to the surface with emergency things, but the radio goes out, and then there's some wind blows the sub like 100 miles off course or something, they are going to suffocate inside that submarine because they have to have someone on the outside undoing the bolts. You cannot escape from inside. It's literally a tomb that you need a support crew to rescue you from, even on the surface. It's terrible. The ocean isn't that deep. It isn't that deep comparatively. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's pretty deep, thousands of meters deep. But comparatively to going into space or going even to the center of the Earth, it's not that deep. Let me see. DeSoya for 10 says, our sun will become a red giant due to burning helium for fuel and grow large enough to incinerate, swallow the Earth before becoming a red/white dwarf. Oh, there you go. So it's completely stupid to try and hide underwater. High mass stars, supernova, neutron star, then black hole. Very interesting. Thank you for the 10 as well. And Billy Oki with 2 Singaporean dollars says, Queen, under pressure. Very true. Very true. All right, let's have a look at the safest vehicle on Earth. Early days. Oh, that was cute. Look at that. He had a little yellow submarine. Can I see that again? I'm going to go back. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Oh, that's adorable. This should be like his profile picture on Instagram or something. Like when he's giving the sub, like when he's got the waiver, because if you remember this, if you were with us when we were doing these streams, he had like a thing where it's like, this sub is untested. It may result in death, paralysis, implosion. Where do I sign? If he was giving that like the spooky safety talk inside this little yellow submarine, I'd be much more willing to listen to him. It's so cute. Look at that little thing. Oh my goodness, it's adorable. Why didn't you just stick with the yellow sub though? Also, wait, go back. I want to see that sub as well. There's so many interesting details in this video. This is what I like about mariners or anyone that's involved in submarines. They're always like shoeless. It seems like so casual, right? Like if you're in like there's no shoeless astronauts. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? There's no, you never see them like casually just sitting around the spaceship. Well, I mean, I guess you do on the International Space Station, but they've still got their boots on or some shit. But every time you see like watercraft and thing, they're always like, oh, like just having like a bit of a tan, having a bit of fun. Look at that. Again, adorable. Should have stuck with that design.
Stockton didn't always have this attitude towards safety. The early days of OceanGate were an entirely different story.
Only after a complete systems test is the OceanGate crew ready to dive.
The company's first sub was a vessel called Antipodes, and it was the perfect test sub for OceanGate.
It's our first sub, Antipodes, and we use that as our training sub. 58 inches diameter. It is about 15 feet long.
This sub had already been certified by the American Bureau of Shipping, so there was a very slim chance of it imploding. It was designed to withstand depths of around 1,000 feet, which is impressive, but nowhere near the depth of the Titanic.
This is where the Titanic is on the ocean floor, below 12,500 feet of water.
Deep.
But OceanGate weren't ready for the Titanic just yet. At this point, they were just a local submarine team, and in the early days, their eyes were set on some lesser-known shipwrecks.
A local submarine team is exploring the wreck of a luxury passenger liner that sank 90 years ago this spring off the coast of Port Townsend.
Today we're doing our third day of diving on the SS Governor.
The SS Governor was located in Washington, and it was often referred to as the area's mini Titanic.
Okay, well, first of all, that's the actual Titanic, I think, because it's got 4 smokestacks. But it seems like the Governor only has
the SS
Governor. It does look a lot like the Titanic. It's only got the 2 smokestacks. See, so it looks like he's just used the Titanic 3D rendering, but it's not the same as the Governor. The USS Fresh in Your Drink Governor.
Referred to as the area's mini Titanic.
The Governor was a luxury liner that was on its way from San Francisco to Seattle on April 1st, 1921. Shortly after midnight, it collided with a freighter. 8 of the 240 people on board went down with the ship.
For years, there have been rumors that it went down with a loaded safe.
The safe, the infamous safe.
That safe is believed to contain around $4 million worth of gold coins. At first, I thought OceanGate was trying to pull off a $4 million submarine heist. You know, just like the opening scene in the first Titanic movie.
It's payday, boys.
But as it turns out, even if they did happen to find the treasure, they would have been forced to hand it over to the man who owns its salvage rights. So
here's the question, though. If you do go down to the ocean and you find these doubloons, are you going to hand them over to the salvage rights dude? Or are you just going to like, oh, we didn't find anything. Bye-bye. We went down to a different wreck and we found lots of gold, though. Like, why would... Good Samaritan? I don't know about that. Salvage rights? Salvage rights, that sounds like shit to me. If you can't go down there and get it, you don't belong to it. It doesn't belong to you. Finders keepers at the bottom of the ocean. That's what I say.
So I guess OceanGate weren't in this area for profit. They really just wanted to explore the area and test their new sub's capabilities.
The crew of the sub is practicing its approaches to the Governor in 240 feet of water for a much more dangerous inspection of the Montebello at 900 feet down.
After the mini Titanic, OceanGate would move on to a much deeper shipwreck. Their goal was to ramp up the depths of their dives. All
right, let's have a look at this. Statue of Liberty, 300 feet. Eiffel Tower, 984 feet. Do you know that Tokyo Tower is designed after the Eiffel Tower, but it's a few meters taller. It's like literally like 2 meters taller. They just did it just to troll the French. So Tokyo Tower beats France. Deal with it, frogs. Empire State Building, 1,250 feet. Mount Fuji. I thought Mount Fuji was higher than... Oh, I guess I'm thinking about meters, aren't I? Mount Fuji is... Wait, is that right? I thought Mount Fuji was higher. Let me just double check. I'm just going to double check this. Mount Fuji height. Because I've been at Mount Fuji twice, so I feel like I should know this, but... Aha! I was right. This video, it says Mount Fuji is 388 feet. Mount Fuji is actually 12,389 feet and 3 inches. So actually, this is actually off by 1 foot. I should know because I've been up there and I went all the way from sea level. So I know very well. Mount Fuji is growing. I don't think so. Mount Fuji is dormant. So I'm not sure about that. But there you go. The Titanic is an entire 120 feet higher than Mount Fuji. So I've almost been the entire length of that.
Shipwreck at a time.
Church builder. We're going to build a church. Depends on what gas station Mount Fuji is leaving. I think you mean what station you climb from. And you're correct, because most people climb from the 5th station. And I did that the first time I climbed. I climbed the 5th station, which is like 2,000 meters up. And in meters, Mount Fuji, I think, is 3,700 meters. I think it's like 3,770 meters, whatever. But one day I missed the bus because I thought it would leave at like 3 o'clock, but it actually leaves at like 1 o'clock. So I had to climb all the way from the bottom. So I went through the spooky forest. I have a video about that on my other channel.
It's part of our ramp up to a California expedition that we're doing in September to a shipwreck called the SS Montebello.
The Montebello was a U.S. oil tanker that was torpedoed by a Japanese sub off the coast of California during World War II.
The
Sun rises again, boys. It's happening. Japan #1.
SS Montebello was not another ship holding treasure. In fact, it was quite the opposite.
It went down with an estimated 70,000 barrels of oil on board.
I'm surprised America's not down there already then.
And it's posing a huge environmental threat to California's coastline.
OceanGate wanted to make a name
South
for
of
themselves
California.
by preventing this environmental threat. And their plan was to create a 3D map of the wreck using their new sonar technology.
The team is also testing the latest in 2- and 3-dimensional sonar equipment.
And we're taking our sub and our Blueview sonar system down there to create a 3D map of that wreck.
Not many people know about these expeditions, but they were a critical part of OceanGate's early days.
That's true. Typically, you don't know a lot about things like this because they all survived because they were using a regular submarine that everyone didn't die in. Funny how that happens, but ironically, he did make himself a part of history and also a part of, I guess, ocean regulation.
And after mapping out that oil spill, they were ready for phase 2 of their company's mission.
An historic Washington state tragedy is helping head off a future one down the coast. In Seattle, Gary Chittum, King 5 News.
Isn't there a lot of oil underwater anyway, though? Like, because off-sea oil drills get their oil from the... Like, obviously, it's not in the ocean, like, but if all these oil barrels... Actually, no, oil would float, so I guess it would go up. Who can say?
The submarine team was taking over the ocean.
Oh, look at that. That was is it an elephant squid? Look at this.
Gary
The come
Chittum,
up.
King 5 News.
This local submarine team was taking over the ocean.
Look at that. It's like a Dumbo squid, I'm pretty sure. That's cool. They're very rare.
Stockton increases the budget, and after 130 successful dives, investors were asking the same question. Was this team going to be the next SpaceX? Name of the company, OceanGate
They're going to be the new ex-humans because they're, well, never mind.
Incorporated. It's a cutting-edge, high-tech firm out of the Midwest awaiting imminent patent approval on the next generation of submersible vehicles. Right now, the stock trades over the counter at 10 cents a share. But with the collaboration of one of
pretty good. I
hip-hop's
like that.
biggest stars, our analysts indicate it could go a heck of a lot higher than that.
Or lower, as the case may be. That's a pretty clever edit. I like that. Very smart at this, the fool man.
Macklemore was on top of...
Macklemore? Oh my goodness. Is that where they got their sub from? The thrift store? Spoiler alert. No.
the world in 2014. It was the year he won 4 Grammy Awards.
And the Grammy goes to Macklemore and Ryan Lewis.
I should have known it was
But his
Macklemore.
most underrated win that year was his collaboration with Stockton Rush.
I think we're going to find sharks.
The pair would team up in search of the incredibly rare 6-gill shark, a trait that was very uncommon amongst most shark species.
What is the probability that we will see a shark today?
Somewhere between 0 and 100.
Macklemore had been a fan of sharks his entire life, and he was pretty...
Was that his... Did his sock say Shark Face Gang? It's an interesting one.
Skeptical that Stockton would find a shark as rare as the 6-gill.
If we don't see a shark, you'll buy me a shark.
Little one.
A baby shark. Yeah, baby. That's a deal.
Does Macklemore still exist? Yes, because he didn't go down on the OceanGate maiden voyage. I guess it wasn't really their maiden voyage, but he avoided going on this loser's sub the second time. What a deal. What a deal.
But little did he know, they would find a shark. In that yellow submarine, under 400 feet of water, Stockton and Macklemore were going to create memories that would last forever.
Oh my god!
6-gill. 6-gill. Top side. We have a 6-gill at the viewport.
Very exciting. Didn't think it was going to happen.
I mean, that's pretty cool and all, but I feel like going to the aquarium is more exciting. I've been to some very cool aquariums, and you can see a lot more sharks than just that one 6-gill shark. It's got 2 extra holes. Wow. Okay. Interesting, cool hobby, I suppose, but I don't know. Sitting in like a little tin shed for 6 hours, looking through a tiny porthole to get a glimpse of a shark. Don't know about that. Don't know about that.
Hold it out. Our mission is complete. It has been an unbelievable experience, something that I will absolutely never forget. That
I mean, I guess
was
it is.
awesome. And it's made me love sharks even more.
Stay true, stay true, stay true.
Very worried about all this music that's in this video, but I guess we'll be okay. These streams I usually unlist them on anyway later. But we'll have to go through it. It's the editing is pretty fire on this one, I have to say.
And that was it. That was the business model at the time for.
Sam says you can't keep big sharks in aquariums. They literally have the biggest shark, well, the second biggest shark, I suppose, in the Osaka aquarium where you live, Sam. Whale sharks. Now you can't keep like the really cool sharks, like what are they? Great white sharks. They don't survive in aquariums. They just die if you put them in there. But like the Kayukan has like a whale shark in it. Those are pretty big. Those are pretty big. Look at these kids. They're going crazy. That's a shark right there. What are you talking about? That's like literally the second biggest shark you can get. Whale sharks don't count. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. You said you should have said that you can't keep the sharks with the big teeth in there. That's true. Now, I remember that I think it was the California aquarium were trying to be the first aquarium in the world to have a great white shark, and they put out a reward for a fisherman that were catching one. And I believe this was in the aftermath of the Jaws movies because everybody wanted to go to the aquarium and see like a great white shark. Unfortunately, whenever you put great white sharks in aquariums, they just die. They just need to swim like hundreds of miles a day, otherwise they just like don't do very well. I always thought that'd be really cool if like you know, if you've ever read the book for Jurassic Park, which is a very good book, very good indeed, very different from the movie, with some similarities. There is dinosaurs in it. But at the beginning of that book, the first thing that InGen does is they make like a little elephant, and they parade that around as their demo for genetic engineering. And I always thought if you could make any animal small, it would be really cool to have like aquarium-sized great white sharks, because there's something about the body shape of them that just looks really cool. They look cooler than little fish. Like little fish don't scale up and look awesome like a shark, like a great white shark does. There's just something chunky about great white sharks, you know what I mean? So if you could get like a chunkiness in that proportions of a great white shark and then scale it down to like a goldfish size, that'd be a killer. That'd be a really amazing pet. Holy shit, that'd be awesome. You could just like feed it littler fish. That'd be awesome. Holy crap.
OceanGate.
We do.
No, like even the sharks that you keep in aquariums don't look as cool as the great whites. There's something about their profile.
Looking for 6-scale sharks and things like that that are.
Look at this shark. Looks pretty happy though. He looks. He's got a little smile. I like him. He's very, very cute. Maybe I can see what Macklemore's seeing in these sharks now. Look, it's very, very. This isn't a shark that's happy with his life. He's just content at the way of the world's going. He's like he's got it going his way. Not sad, not overly excited, but he's just having a good day. This is like a shark's face that you're drinking a beer, cold beer, on a hot day. You got the wind blowing in your face. You're sitting out on your porch. You've just cut the lawn. That's the smile that you make. That's what that shark's saying when I see that this shark's boy's face.
5,000.
It's a very unusual business. It's its own category. It's a new type of travel.
And eventually, they'd be selling tickets to the Titanic for up to $250,000 a person. However, it wasn't going to be in Antipodes.
That shark deserves a DB.
This yellow sub was
VB.
only certified for dives that were 1/12 the depth of the Titanic. And unfortunately for Stockton, you couldn't just buy or rent a sub that was capable of going 12,500 feet.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can hire or buy a submarine that is capable of going to the Titanic. I know this because James Cameron did it. He bought and or rented a submarine to go down and film the Titanic. So yes, you can just buy or rent these submersibles. So this is just factually inaccurate. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Stockton believed it was the strict laws and regulations that were preventing him from innovating the submersible industry. So he came.
No, it was the strict regulations that were preventing him from dying, but somehow death found a way.
Came to the conclusion that he only had one reasonable option remaining, building his own sub.
Initially, we didn't think we were going to build our own subs. We thought we were going to get somebody else to build our subs. The industry standard just wouldn't allow for that.
See, the thing is, I don't know if they're going to mention this in just a second, but there's a difference. The problem with James Cameron's sub is that you can't use it for tourism because it can only really seat one. The submersibles that are capable of going to the bottom of the ocean are they're big items, but they have very small pressurized chamber, because if you reduce the size of the pressurized chamber, you reduce the overall pressure that could destroy the sub in the first place. So I think in the James Cameron sub, it's like literally either seats 1 or 2 people. But the thing is, you can't run a tourist business unless you can cram in as many people as possible. So that doesn't work. That's the actual reason. They can buy the sub that they're talking about. They just can't buy one that fits 10, and then they can sell tickets at 10th of the price, rather than just having one billionaire go down there at a time. If you have a look at the picture of the sub, because they were talking about getting, like back when this was happening, they were talking about, should we actually get James Cameron to bring his personal sub to come help and search for it? Let me see, James Cameron sub. He was in the Deep Sea Challenger. Yeah, like have a look at this. This is actually kind of really interesting. Let me just bring this up in a second. So this is the sub, I think, that they use for James Cameron, and you'll notice a difference. You'll notice a really big difference as we go through this. Little documentary. That's the picture I was looking for. That's the picture I was looking for. See how he's getting into this massive thing that only really seats 1 or 2 people. Noticed this. See, look, this is, you've got the lighting panels, the batteries, camera, weights, pilot's chamber. You'll notice the size and the thickness of the hatch. That's a thick boy. Stockton thought that he could do away with that and just, instead of spending all that money on titanium, because that's the real reason. He could have used titanium. He didn't want to because it would be cheaper. And that's the real thing, the cost effectiveness of this all, because he wanted to make a fleet of subs. He thought he could replace this with a couple of inches of carbon fiber. Look at the thickness. It's almost as thick as James Cameron's head. Megel says, back in the day, I remember the oxygen countdown. That's right. We used to have there was like a 40-hour timer on their oxygen, and we were seeing if we were watching live to see if they would survive. And then when the timer hit 0, we were all let out of breath in despair. And a few giggles.
To build what we felt we needed and what we thought humanity needed to explore the ocean.
So they did what a lot of companies do. They break the rules and act now, then they ask for forgiveness later. And the name they decided to give their first custom-built sub?
Cyclops, a new manned submersible, now undergoing sea trials.
There you go. That's pretty good right there.
Okay. It was time to go all in.
Is that the Cyclops theme song?
Stockton was going to ignore the industry.
Actually, I'm going to have a look. See, I guess you can't really see the windows on this sub. I wanted to see the comparison of that dome. Although, ironically, the glass dome may have survived.
Strict rules and regulations. It was time to prove them all wrong.
What was the cause of the sinking of OceanGate? Basically, what happened is that the carbon fiber, while it is very strong in a buoyancy to strength ratio, stronger than titanium, it can be brittle and it can gain fractures. And titanium doesn't fail in the same way that carbon fiber does. If you ever seen like a carbon fiber bike just explode, because when they reach a certain amount of stress. So what happened is these subs would always self-destruct after 5 or 6 dives, but they didn't realize this until, I think it was actually the 7th time they'd gone out in not all the way to the Titanic, but they tested it before. But basically just fractures started to grow and grow and grow to the point where the immense amount of pressure just made it implode.
Cyclops is going to be a very useful tool for any organization,
and
company,
Popcorn Power is saying that
institution
carbon fiber
that
will
needs to go
delaminate
and
as well,
perform
because it was wrapped up.
Cyclops is the newest creation of OceanGate, a for-profit private company in partnership with the University of Washington's Applied Physics Laboratory.
We couldn't have done it without that partnership. You know, the Applied Physics Lab has been effectively our engineering partner.
But this wasn't going to be a usual submarine. Stockton wanted to create the most simple and easy to use submarine on the market.
Stockton is very interested in being able to quickly train pilots, have pilots be able to come in and use this thing without having to go through weeks of training on there.
Solution?
I don't know. I don't know. I kind of want my submarine pilots to have more than a few weeks of training. I don't want some guy doing this as his after-school job.
This video game controller.
We use this game.
I have to. First of all, this wasn't the controller they used on the sub. Second of all, they call this a video game controller, but everybody knows that PlayStation has no games, so it's a controller. But video game controller, that's a bit of a stretch.
Controller.
We use this game controller to drive the sub. First thing is there are two dead command switches. You have to press one of these buttons, and now
he's got two dead switches. There you go. They only needed one though. Oh my goodness.
It's ready to go.
And in 2015, the sub was ready to go. So Stockton organized the big reveal, and the christening ceremony was set to begin.
Okay, on behalf of the whole OceanGate team and all the team members who are here tonight, I christen the...
Oh no! Imagine they christen the sub and it just cracks that right then and there, and like, well, the next one we'll hit it with a slightly weaker champagne bottle.
Cyclops.
So all of our test program has been about incremental testing. We started over 2 years ago with Cyclops 1. Out here, this is really focused on one thing, and that's the pressure vessel, and making sure that component is safe and capable of handling depths down to 4,000 meters repeatedly.
It is.
I feel
it's
so
grim
lucky
even.
I got to do one dive while the Cyclops was here.
But
I bet she feels luckier now.
Cyclops wasn't the final product. Cyclops 2 began development a few years later, although Stockton didn't like that name very much, so they rebranded to Titan.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't it really bad luck to rename a ship? Or even, I mean, I know this is submersible, but like typically you don't rename boats because that's super bad luck on the ocean. So that's their first mistake right there. That's their first mistake. Don't rename things.
Hi, my name is Stockton Rush. I'm the CEO and founder of OceanGate. Let's take a look at Titan.
If you thought Cyclops was simplistic, just wait till you see its successor.
It's got one button, and that's it.
Yeah, down. It's an elevator with one button.
We have our control screen here, our sonar screen here, and we can put any image we want in the back.
It's one of the only subs that can hold 5 people.
Oh look, here's the tissue box you get to shit in when you're down there with 5 people. In this submarine. Yeah, that sounds like a really premium experience for $250,000. Yeah, sign me up, coach.
Also the only one with a toilet. Sort of.
There were some parts.
Wait a second. Let me
we
see that
want
again.
in the back.
It's one of the only subs that can hold 5 people.
It's also the only one with a toilet.
This is just a milk bottle that you stick your dick into. Does it come with a funnel for the ladies?
Sort of.
There were some parts that kind of look like they held together.
And yet I couldn't help noticing how many pieces of this sub seemed improvised.
We can use these off-the-shelf components. I got these from Camper World. We run the whole thing with this game controller.
Come on!
And
there it is. There it is. The legendary game
We run
controller.
the whole thing with this game controller.
Come on!
If you want to get your own Logitech controller, support the stream, use this link up here in the pinned comment to the Logitech wireless gamepad. Very good reviews. A couple aren't so happy with it, but most of these are very positive reviews. I mean, I'm sure there's no actually I remember we were actually reading the reviews back when this happened. That was a bit of a laugh, bit of a chuckle.
And so what if people laugh? Titan was fully operational in just a few years. And it was
just
all
for a
made
few
possible
years.
with the leadership of Stockton Rush.
I think you did it, Stockton.
There's some luck here.
High five.
High five on white guys. There we go. Okay. Maybe a win-win. Maybe.
And as days became months and months became years, that little sub was passing every test imaginable.
This is why you want your pilot
Except the really important one.
to be an engineer.
He believed that building this sub would help him unlock the secrets of the ocean. But Stockton wasn't building his own submarine. He was building his own coffin.
It's a miracle it can do what it does when you look at it there, because when you look at it, it is very small. Yeah, it looks like it's put together with a piece of string, but it's not, obviously.
We can
Not so sure about that. I saw tape on the outside.
scale to multiple vehicles relatively quickly because we've used commercially off-the-shelf products for almost everything we do. We can bring additional vessels online in a matter of months as opposed to years or decades.
So Stockton planned.
Probably. The funny thing is, they may have inadvertently saved a lot of people by being so disastrous so quick off the bat. If they had a fleet of these things, then multiple of them could have failed them simultaneously, right?
Plans to create even more low-budget submersibles, and soon enough, he was going to have his own fleet of submarines. The only question being, were they safe? Absolutely fucking not.
Good editing, good use of the wolf with string. I like that. That's a point to this video. Oh, I forgot to like the video. Look at that. I just liked it right now. You can like this video too, by the way. My one.
I'd like to be remembered as an innovator. I think it was General MacArthur said, "You're remembered for the rules you break."
That's a cool quote. Here's another one from the aviation industry. Regulation is written in blood. So he'll be remembered now, for sure.
And I've broken some rules to make this. I think I've broken them with logic and good engineering behind me. The carbon fiber.
With logic and engineering, yeah, with Logitech. That's the logic they've got on the board. Not sure it's the best one though.
For titanium, there's a rule you don't do that. Well, I did.
The most controversial feature of Titan was its carbon fiber hull. This was considered controversial because the industry standard material was titanium.
Engineers zero in on titanium, a super strong and lightweight material that would allow deep-sea vehicles to reach the Titanic. It is with this material that today's most inventive submarine builders continue to push technology forward to penetrate the ocean's deepest regions.
But Stockton didn't like titanium. He believed carbon fiber was the better material.
Carbon fiber.
It's just literally carbon fiber. They use titanium shell and then a carbon fiber wrap.
Is 3 times better.
Like if there's like bubbles underneath this when it's being wrapped, it's just going to make like these pressure points where fractures can start. Like this is so.
On a strength to
I remember how dumb
buoyancy
this is now.
basis than titanium.
When I saw
And
this back in the
underwater,
day.
that's what you care about. It's not strength to weight, it's strength to buoyancy. And yet no one had done that.
Titan was able to skirt the law by operating in international
strength
waters.
to
And although
alive.
it passed multiple test dives, many believed the carbon fiber hull was slowly being damaged over time.
If the sub passed its pressure test, it wasn't going to fail on the first dive, but it's going to fail over time. It might fail on dive 7. Which is insidious.
I mean, really, that is because you typically think like I don't want to be the first one down there, but the first guy was the safest guy to ever go down there. Like, I'm very fond of a phrase, which is the early bird gets the worm, but the second mouse gets the cheese. In this case, going second not as good as being that early board. We got another fiver from the destroyer, and he says, "Also, MacArthur, I shall return while the rest of you saps go to the baton death match." Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
Get that with steel, with titanium.
Carbon fiber is a great material. It's better than titanium. It's better than a lot of other materials.
In price. Not necessarily in blood.
Started the business, old timers in the industry told me I was nuts, and they continue to tell me that.
So Stockton continued
Well, now they don't tell you shit because you. Yeah, obviously.
operating his carbon fiber sub, recording the entire assembly process along the way.
Oh, yeah, so that will be the pressure vessel for Cyclops 2. It will go to 4,000 meters. It'll be the deepest diving carbon fiber sub ever built.
Well, I mean, that actually is true, I guess, since it went all the way to the bottom.
Goes to 4,000 meters, will be the only one out there. I'm going to be the first guy in the sub, so
The problem is you have to come back up. That's the only issue with going down.
we will see. It's pretty simple, but if we mess it up, there's not a lot of recovery.
With his
I mean, fact check true.
goal being to explore the bottom of the ocean, you'd reasonably expect some sort of certification from a third-party agency. However, Titan was never certified by any regulatory body, and that's because Stockton believed that these agencies were
Over the top in their rules and regulations, but they had nothing with carbon fiber. So we had to go out and work on that. And one of the things I learned is, when you're outside the box, it's really hard to tell how far outside the box you really are.
I guess there's some regulations now. So his argument was big submarine is trying to hold the little guys down. Is that what he's saying?
And we were pretty far out there. So we have a carbon fiber hull.
His thoughts about breaking the rules is really about thinking outside the box and coming up with innovative solutions.
I mean, anything when you're trying something outside the box, people inside the box think you're nuts. Same thing when Elon Musk was doing SpaceX. Inside the box, everything's scary.
Elon Musk hasn't gone to space yet and hasn't died inside his own craft yet.
Continues
Still
to pass
time.
every test that Stockton could throw at it, and eventually, Titan needed a new milestone, a new goal to reach. So can you guess where it was headed next?
The goal was, where do you want to go in the ocean? What is the most known site in the ocean? And it's clearly the Titanic.
Ah yes, the Titanic. She really was the most beautiful ship in the world.
You know, it's really annoying. Like, you know, if you thought that picture of all the water on Earth was annoying, wait until you see a picture of the Titanic compared to modern vessels. The Titanic was actually pretty small. Let me see if I can see Titanic versus modern cruise ship. The Titanic was a itsy bitsy little thing. Here we go. This is actually a really good photo. But I think even a modern aircraft carrier is larger than the Titanic. The true size of the Titanic revealed. Let's have a look at this. That's the one I want. There you go. There you go. There's like a modern cruise ship where all the fat Disney adults go to, I guess, drink Mai Tais and get sick on the buffet. That's the Titanic compared to the modern Chad cruise ship. It's tiny. It's midget. I mean, it's barely a little tugboat. Look at that. It's barely a tugboat compared to this big boy. What is this? Discovery of the Sea or some shit? I used to, when I lived in Wellington, which is a port city, sometimes we'd have those really big cruise ships come into the harbor. And sometimes I just like, holy shit, these things are fucking massive. It's actually kind of shocking the first time you see like a really big boat. And let me tell you, those are some big boats these days.
Said to be unsinkable, but destined to go down on her maiden voyage.
Very true. The sea is always right.
The Titanic has been a symbol of excessive confidence for over a century, and together with the irony of OceanGate's failed expedition.
This is a rude graph. This is a very, very rude graph. It feels like this is a very cheeky one to throw in there. Titanic deaths per year. Looks like there's quite a lot in 1912. Nothing for a while. Oops, 5 more.
It'll probably remain relevant for another 100 years. But why would anyone risk their life to see such an ancient shipwreck? Well, Titanic was the highest grossing film for many years, and on top of that, James Cameron, the director of that movie, he completed his own expedition to obtain real cinematic footage.
So it's James Cameron's fault. I knew it all along. Now he's gonna who's gonna die going to see the Navy next or something? There's gonna be one dude who's gonna go try and get a Navy girlfriend on Pandora, and he's gonna get gaped by all of the Navy people, and they go, "Curse you, James Cameron! You've claimed another 5 people, another 5 billionaires."
Made the film because I wanted to go and dive to the Titanic wreck, and then I had to make this movie. Okay, all right, I'll make the movie. And then that worked out well, and so then I could afford to go some more. There was this powerful, almost magnetic attraction to find out what's down there. Titanic sort of is like a black hole. It sucks you in.
And the next person to be sucked into this black hole was, of course...
I mean, it's you can kind of make fun of the guy like Stockton Rush because he was so stupid. I do actually feel bad for the people on the sub though, like the tourists, because they just assumed. I mean, they did say it's on the waiver though. Particularly, I feel bad for the billionaire's son. Like there was 2 British billionaires, I believe, and one of them brought his son. And that guy was just like, probably he didn't even want to go. He's probably like, Dad, I don't want to go on the sub. He's like, come on, it'll be a good experience. That one's kind of sad.
The Titanic is just
this guy. He fucked around and he found out. He got what it deserved.
such a huge draw.
It became a must-do dive. I read an article that said there are 3 words in the English language that are known throughout the planet, and that's Coca-Cola, God, and Titanic.
Well, that's funny because he got to drink a Coke on his way down to see the Titanic and God. He got all 3 out in the same vessel. How about that?
If you ever watched the 1997 movie, you'd know it's a combination of both history and fiction. The film centers around the fictional love triangle of Rose, Jack, and Caledon. And when shit hits the fan, we'd get to see the characters' true colors.
Look at him! To a gutter rat.
I'd rather be his than your wife.
But remember,
Oh, it's not looking so good for Billy Zane. That's who that is, right? Am I right about that? Billy Zane on Titanic? Pretty sure. I liked him in The Mummy better though, as Imhotep.
this story was just fictional. However, on the other side of the ship, we'd get a glimpse of the story that kicks off our sequel, Titanic 2.
Please, Ida, get into the boat. No!
This is Isidore and Ida Strauss, two passengers who were actually on board the Titanic in 1912. Their tale is well documented and has been recreated in various films and musicals.
Look. Oh, it has. A Night to Remember. SOS Titanic. In Naught and S. Oh,
We've been together for 40 years. And where you go, I go. Don't argue with me, is it?
that's a rough 60. I assume they got married at 20 because they're old people, right? They've been together 40 years? What did I don't know. 60-year-olds these days look a lot better than this. Like, we were looking at that guy yesterday. The guy that was hiding at Trump's golf course. He had a 61-year-old girlfriend, and she looked pretty fine for 61, I gotta say. I mean, not that I would go for her, but as a 61-year-old, she looks pretty good.
Sure. You know it does no good.
Isidore and Ida would go down with the ship in 1912, but not before having a number of descendants.
Oh, that reminds me, actually. So you know how they had the band that was playing the song as the Titanic was going down? Very memorable scene from the movie. Recently, there was a flooding in a mall, and there was like water coming in from the ceilings, and the ground floor was filling up with water. And there was a band playing, and they decided to start playing the Titanic theme. It was very, very cool moment. Very funny for them. I wonder if they practiced for that, or they just decided to do it by improv. That's a very fun, cute little video.
One of them being the communications director at OceanGate, and who also just so happened to be...
Billy Zane wasn't Imhotep? Wait, who played him? I thought it was the same guy. Bit of... when I searched for Imhotep, it actually came up with the actual statue. I guess I should have clarified. Actor. Oh, it isn't? Arnold, what, Voslo? I thought this was Billy Zane. Wow, I didn't even know that. That's one of my favorite movies. Wait a second. Hold on a second. All right, hold on a second. These are the two okay, these are the comparison of the two people, okay. Corporate needs you to decide what's the difference between these two pictures. Corporate needs you to decide. You got to cross your eyes and see if they overlap. That's real uncanny though. I always thought it was Billy Zane. Holy shit.
married to a man named Stockton. And maybe that's why Stockton was so obsessed with continuously going down to the Titanic.
And our goal is to go back to the Titanic year after year, scan it with sonar, and document the wreck and its decay. And
now he can stare down there forever. He doesn't even have to come up.
Discover what we can discover.
And so the stage was set for the adventure of a lifetime. But Stockton couldn't fund these expeditions on his own, so he began advertising his once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to the public. And the now deleted promotional video was set to be released.
OceanGate Expeditions offers you the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to be...
It was a It's too easy, right? It's too easy.
A specially trained crew member safely diving to the Titanic wreckage site. Get ready for what Jules Verne could only imagine. A 12,500-foot journey to the bottom of the sea. It's the...
To be fair, they didn't say anything about coming back up.
OceanGate Titanic experience.
I mean, it was the Titanic experience. I mean, to be fair, it was the once-in-a-lifetime Titanic experience. They probably should have called it the Titanic visit. That's probably what I want to. That's probably what I'll apply for instead of the experience.
We partnered with aerospace experts at the University of Washington, NASA, and Boeing on the design of our hull.
It's very well engineered and very safe, and the team is very focused on safety first.
Not one.
I'm sorry, but like, so you've got Dr. Scott here, Parazinski, NASA astronaut. He's done 7 spacewalks and 5 space shuttle flights. That does not make him qualified to pilot a submarine or be a submarine engineer. There's a very funny clip from Futurama where they've got their spaceship and they go underwater and they say, Professor, our ship is being crushed. He's like, yes, of course. We're under 5,000 atmospheres of pressure. It's like, well, how many atmospheres can the ship withstand? And he's like, well, it's a spaceship. So anywhere between 0 and 1.
First.
Not 1 second of me experiencing anything from OceanGate have I ever felt unsafe.
As I pointed out on the bridge earlier, your safety
that
plan
last
on the vessel.
Come join us on our next expedition. Don't miss the opportunity to be part of history.
It's part of history now.
The OceanGate Titanic experience. There's truly nothing else like it.
Except being rolled over by a very quick steamroller, I suppose. Now, here's a question, because there is actually a billionaire in Ohio who wants to build a submarine and go visit the Titanic again and visit the wreckage of the Titan 1. Is the death toll going to rise again another 5 people? It seems like you just don't go back down there at this point.
But this wasn't just another episode of Black Mirror, nor was it an episode of The Twilight Zone. This was reality. And although quite a few people were eager...
Is there wreckage? There is. In fact, the Coast Guard released footage of the wreckage. Look at that. You can actually go visit the wreckage. Now, I believe they used a unmanned submersible to see this. But look at that. They've even got the OceanGate logo on the side there. Look at that. Look at that. This is actual footage of the tail cone. This is all that remains. They couldn't find the controller, unfortunately. But you could always pick another one up. They're only $26, right? 26 bucks? Yeah, 26. It's been marked down from 32. They're on a discount sale.
To get themselves a ticket, there was still one question that remained.
What's the level of danger with this type of expedition?
Well, surprisingly, the safest part of the expedition will be the submarine part. In the last 35 years, there hasn't been an injury on a commercial private sub, although there have been over 15 million people go in them. Going to sea is
because those were safely rated submarines, not your submarine.
Intrinsically a risky activity, but we're doing everything we can to make sure that it's as safe and comfortable as possible.
Well,
Yeah, comfortable as possible. Yeah, this looks real comfy. Are you comfy, bros? Pass me the controller. It's my turn, Dad.
Stockton went on
Gotta go shit in the bucket before I have my turn.
a few media runs during this period, with the goal of highlighting OceanGate's mission.
Our rule is we risk capital. We don't risk people.
The media coverage before
Well, they risk both. Look at that. They killed 2 billionaires and 5 people.
Incident flaunted a once-in-a-lifetime.
Oh, sorry. They killed... What is it? They killed 2 billionaires and 3 people? Is that how? I guess that's there for the Redditors in the chat.
Opportunity.
It looks like there are these rust formations. That's actually what's left over from the bacteria that's consuming it at a huge rate.
Really? So we may not be able to see it forever. So go get into a submersible now.
Finally, the crew seemed to foster a culture of safety. There were checklists, inspections.
All right, a second. I want to see what this checklist
seems
says.
to foster a culture of safety. There were
All right, let's see. Get larger diameter sea anchor. Purchase. Light junction box corrosion issue bonding cable. Port forward hatch cover over platform is leaking. Why? not a great sign. LPA tanks on platform need relocation. Control pod swap. Install synthetic foam. Full Titan HPA. Full platform LPA. Add bleed vent. Add bleed vent to valve next to blue hose. Yeah, they're probably going to need to make sure that bleed vent is working pretty well, because it's going to be getting a lot of use. Larger hose on control bottle. Pen and tilt will not tilt. Oh, that's a Mad Cat's control brush issue. That happens all the time. Regulator for dome dolly needs testing and inspection. Clean, organized container rec bench. Change batteries. Change batteries in the keyboards for the Titan. They were using wireless battery keyboards. Come on now. Come on now. Flip forward tank on platform 180 degrees. Make signage exteriors of submersible. Label an exterior HPA manifold. Faded, hard to see. Very funny. I hope they brought the extra batteries.
Checklists, inspections before and after every dive, and a 3 strikes rule. If 3 things seemed out of the ordinary, no matter how minor, they'd cancel the dive.
But the media coverage after Titan's implosion was an entirely different story.
Everyone I know keeps asking me the same question. Why would you get on that dangerous sub?
A 60
Because billionaires are stupid. They're like, oh, I've got to go to the Mount Everest because I'm special. I got to go to the bottom ocean because I'm special. I can't just drink and bone my wife or anything like regular people. I got to be a thrill-seeking billionaire. That's what all the cool guys do, right? Oh my dear goodness.
minute special identifying over 30 members of the maritime community who warned Stockton about Titan's safety procedures, and a chief submersible pilot who was fired and subsequently sued for speaking out against OceanGate.
This one's actually crazy. The guy that actually said it was not safe. They're like, you better shut your trap or we're going to sue you.
If someone raised a safety concern, as the chief pilot did, they were not only not listened to, they were silenced.
But with all that being said, if you did manage to get a ticket to the Titan expedition, you can't say that Stockton didn't warn you.
This is an experimental sub. People are informed that it's very dangerous down there.
It's an open book here.
Nova says, if you're so smart, where is your $1 billion? I'm a temporarily embarrassed billionaire. But I guess I do have more sense than money because I'm alive. I mean, which one would you prefer to have? If you're so smart, why do you live in Canada? Nova.
If you have any questions about what's going on, about acoustic monitoring, about carbon fiber problems we had, rumors of problems we had, actual problems we had, feel free to ask. We're happy to show everything. We want everyone going into this fully informed. This is an experimental sub. This is a dangerous environment. It's 6,000 PSI. Very few people have been down there. And so we want to make sure that you're going in with an open eye and you understand what's going on. If you don't want to do it at any time, feel free to say, hey, I want to take a pass. And we can work something out. Maybe bring you another.
The thing is, if you get halfway down and you start to have cold legs, they're not going to go back up. It's like a 12-hour descent or something. They have to go down there really slowly.
Or something else, but really want to make sure you're aware of all this.
And as a last-ditch effort to limit their liability, you'd also have to sign OceanGate's waiver.
An experimental submersible vessel that has not been approved or certified by any regulatory body and could result in physical injury, disability, emotional trauma, or death.
Where do I sign?
Where do I sign?
Such a good line. Oh my goodness, such a good meme. This is aged like a fine wine over the year. Part 7? Part 7? When subs implode?
June 18th, 2023. The OceanGate Titanic experience is set to begin.
Are reporting the dive as a go. Please stand by.
5 crew members are sealed into the submersible, and so is their fate.
CEO Stockton Rush, businessman Hamish Harding,
French explorer Paul-Henri Nargeolet,
businessman Shahzada Dawood and his 19-year-old son Suleiman were on the expedition as part of a Father's Day trip.
Everything was going according to plan.
See, that one's sad. That one's sad. The rest of them I don't mind laughing at, but that one's a little bit sad.
One of the questions about this is how risky is going in the sub. Turns out in this expedition, probably the safest thing will be once you're underwater. Once I'm a couple of feet underwater, I know I'm coming back. I know everybody's coming back.
Is this the Naruto music? Oh, people are going to get mad at me in the chat. Is this the Naruto music? I'm pretty sure this is like Strong and Strike or something. Is this? Can you use this? Can you just use copyrighted Naruto music?
In just under 2 hours, Titan had lost communication with its mothership.
But the crew
at the surface did not file a missing report for
music.
nearly 8 hours.
It is! They're blowing the Japanese wind flutes. I mean, I guess all flutes are wind flutes, but I didn't know you could use this in copyrighted videos.
Snapped.
That's crazy.
Call the fucking Coast Guard.
Vessel disappeared during an underwater mission to
I mean, it is a
tour
good
the
song.
Titanic
It's a great
wreckage.
song.
Tonight, an international search operation
There
is
it is, the whoop
underway.
whoop.
We'll continue to put every available asset that we have in an effort to find the Titan and the crew members.
Apparently, you can just. Oh, that's a pretty good mustache. I like this guy. Apparently, you can just use music from like Death Note and Naruto. Apparently, in like videos. But whenever I'm watching like a Turkey Tom video, he has like the Death Note music. I rewatched that recently because my girlfriend had never seen Death Note, so we watched it, but then we just stopped watching it after Elle dies. I was like, she's like, "Is this the end?" I'm like, "Yes." Let's just stop here. That was the best. That's the best way to watch that show. Just stop watching after that.
Every news station in the world was in on this story. They brought in experts, former passengers, hell, they even got James Cameron on the line.
Stockton Rush asked me if I wanted to go out there and dive this season. I wasn't interested.
He's like, "No, I'm not interested in dying." He was too busy filming Way of the Water. Look up their copyright stuff. There's nothing in the thing if you look down there. He's edited in such a way that he can just use it. That's actually fascinating to me. I wonder if that's just not copyrighted in America or in Australia. Kind of wild though when you think about it. Sometimes you can get away with this sort of stuff if there's like a game and they use music from an anime, but then it's uploaded as the gameplay footage. It gets past copyright somehow, like that kind of, right? Because there are some. I wonder if that's why it's like that. Anime music should be copyrighted on YouTube, the majority of it, because it is internationally licensed. Unless it appears in a video game, because in video games you usually don't get copyright strikes anymore. The exception to this though is Alan Wake. Alan Wake is very frustrating because there's a lot of copyrighted music in that. There's actually a very stupid copyright case at the moment where Alan Wake, which is like I think like a 10-year-old game at this point, one of the songs they no longer own the copyright for, so they had to put up an emergency update to stop people from playing that game because it might play the copyright music they no longer have. Not Alan Wake, no, it's the old one. The original Alan Wake was a pretty good game, honestly. I haven't played Alan Wake 2, but I heard people are very grumpy about it.
And then came the rumors. A leaked transcript of the crew's final moments and a series of tapping sounds were supposedly heard around Titan's last known location. But of course, both of these rumors were declared fake by the feds.
Tapping sounds are ridiculous.
All that was left was a few hours of oxygen and a race against time.
Have just hours
Where's that oxygen meter from? Was that from like Subnautica or something?
of oxygen left now, heightening the race against time to rescue the 5 people inside.
Time was running out. And well, they did end up finding that submarine.
Debris from the Titan has...
I like this song, but I gotta pause it just in case. I'm quite shocked. It hasn't shown up on... Usually when you do a stream, it warns you if there's like I guess it's just okay to play that song. That's crazy. Maybe I should use it in my videos. It's a banger.
Been brought to the surface from the ocean floor. Several pieces of the doomed vessel.
Once the pressure vessel is, you're certain it's not going to collapse on everybody, everything else can fail. Your thrusters can go, your lights can...
Written and edited by and voiced by the full. That's what the video ends? Oh, come on. There has to be an epilogue. Come on now. Well, if you wanna go see the full, looks like he's also got a video about the Fire Festival when Gordon Ramsay destroyed Amy's Baking Company, the real reason McDonald's monopoly. That was a pretty good video, pretty good, but I feel like it needed an epilogue. Fortunately, there is some more information because this Coast Guard has been having some hearings on this and releasing information. Death Note detective music overview on rackets when. Can I find this? Let me have a look. You know that let me see. Detective music Death Note. This is the song. If you've watched a Turkey Tom video, you'll know this. Is it Triumphus Mortis? Is that it? This is the first one that comes up. No, I don't think that's it. I don't think that's it. Here it is. Maybe Death Note thinking music. Yes, let's have a look. All right, so you want the stream to be like this, right? So we got to put the where are they? Where's my overlays? So you want a stream that goes like this. So we got the cats on. Then we got a picture of and it's like Nick Recator was a man from central Minnesota. But why is there 4 people in his bed? That doesn't make sense. What? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. The bulldoze for men without dicks that don't work. That means, wait a minute, there's cocaine. It's in the child's hair. What does this mean? I mean, that is kind of Kino, I have to say. You know what? We might have to consider that. It actually is kind of good. I don't know. We'll see if we can get away with it. I don't think we will be able to, though. But to do a parody of Turkey Tom videos, I think no, Turkey Tom videos are good. I like them. Paulie McCaw says, shut up and take my money. Thank you. Very appreciated. All right. This is from the Associated Press, released 17 hours ago. It says, employee who called Titan unsafe testifies OceanGate only wanted to make money. I mean, imagine my shock. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at this.
A key employee who labeled the doomed experimental OceanGate submersible unsafe prior to its fatal voyage testified Tuesday that he frequently clashed with the company's co-founder and felt the company was committed only to making money.
I didn't want anybody going in that submersible. I mean, it was dangerous, you know.
Oh, so this is the guy that got, this is David Lockridge. This guy got a PS1 control, well, I guess a PlayStation, not PS1, but he got a PlayStation controller thrown at his head after the CEO ran their sub into some other ship, right? I have to say, when we were watching interviews yesterday for the Trump thing, their suits weren't good. Their accents weren't good. There was a guy that was like, Hona woo woo, my war crew. This guy, I like this guy. He's got a nice suit. He's got a very serious Scottish accent. He's Engineer Scotty. That's who he is. I trust Scottish engineers.
As I said, the build quality was atrocious. You have
to be from
have
Scotland.
Confidence in the equipment
to
do the job. It's like every other industry. If you don't have the confidence in it, you don't do it. That's it.
And did you have confidence in the way that the Titan was being built at this time?
No confidence whatsoever. And I was very vocal about that and still am. Cost cutting, bad engineering decisions. I would say that's the two main things. The desire to get to the Titanic as quickly as they could to start making profit.
And there's a very quick way to get to the Titanic. There's just not a very quick way to come back up.
I knew nothing about the financials side of things, but yeah, there was a big push to get this done. Can I say arrogance? Thinking they could do this on their own without proper engineering support. I mean, proper engineering support from people that have built things that have been subsea, may not be submersibles, but known products, proper engineers that work for the university. They were booked. As far as I know, they were booked out.
He dropped 2, want to sell. What to sell? It just says drop 2 WTS. Want to sell what? PST.
For that summer. So how that's feasible having a sub like that?
Bifron says it's a proper accent. Oh yes, Larry. I trust this man. I'd follow him to the ends of the earth. He said the sub was dangerous and I believed him. But he got a PS1 controller thrown in his head. He's a right knobhead for a boss. Go away now. I mean, that's what he said when do you think he did that? He went to the ocean, opened up a bottle of whiskey, and then poured out one. He's like, "Go away now, Stockton," as he heard the news. Holy shit!
Build quality like that, and then for these people that are running this organization to think it's okay to put these people at risk.
This is Critical Drinker's secret identity is actually Submarine Scottish man. Oh my goodness, that'd be too perfect. All right, there is a court. Coast Guard hearing OceanGate Titan Submersible Titanic disaster under scrutiny. 27 minutes. We'll take a look at this. It's from today's hearing, I believe. Well, actually, this is from yesterday. It's interesting. There's a disclaimer. So maybe they've been selling some fake news. It's the disclaimer says sinking of the Titanic. Wikipedia: Titanic sank on April 15th, 1912, in the North Atlantic Ocean, the largest ocean liner in service at that time. Titanic was on a 4 days into her maiden voyage from Southampton to New York. Estimated 2,224 people on board.
Of these top stories that we're following and more live pictures that we're getting. One of them is the latest regarding a story that really dominated the news cycles just last year, and that was the implosion of the Titan Submersible. Well, today was day one of
Explosive
hearings
story,
in that entire
implosive submarine.
situation.
Yes.
Fox News correspondent Connor Hansen has more.
During a highly anticipated Coast Guard hearing, investigators showed a recreation of the Titan submarine crew's final moments.
Who's the guy talking? Is that like... I'm hearing like Colbert on that voice. Do you guys hear it? Or is it just me?
One of the last messages sent by the doomed sub was, quote, "all good here," not long before the Titan imploded,
It's like a
killing
young
all
Colbert
5
reporting
on
on this.
board. The hearing's first witness was the
Before he got
submarine company
TDS.
OceanGate's former engineering director. Tony Nissen was skeptical of the sub's safety, testifying that he wouldn't let a crew take the Titan down to the Titanic wreckage in 2019.
This submersible, what we're doing, has never been done before, right? We don't have
Kind of shit audio quality though. There's like a crackling that's very annoying. Fox got static on the line or some shit. Yeah, exactly. They do. It's not me.
classing direction on what good looks like. I said, nobody knows what good looks like or what it's supposed to look like.
Robert Lawrence says, PP says I have tracking. Yes. Unlike, never mind.
I said, but what I do know is it shouldn't look like that.
Nissen described a tense relationship with OceanGate co-founder Stockton Rush, who died during the expedition. He also laid out concerns about the sub's hull, struck by lightning back in 2018.
When I hired on, I had no idea they planned on going to the Titanic. I was never told that.
The Coast Guard says the Titan sub had an unconventional design and didn't undergo a third-party review, which is standard. It was also stored outside, exposed to the elements for 7 months in 2022 and 2023.
Yeah, that's what I heard, is that they were just storing it out there, and they're like, they use like literally a sealant that you use on trucks for making sure they're like a flatbed truck is like sealed against weather. They were using that on the Titan sub, because they were just picking up shit from like Home Depot to make these things. Richard Gruber says, I remember 4chan playing My Heart Will Go On on Pole during the Death Watch. I love the parody song of that, where it's like the clarinet or whatever, and it just gets like it's just like crackling and breaking. I tried playing that once on stream and I got copyright claimed for My Heart Will Go On. But that's a very funny every time I hear it. Whereas the guy, he's just trying to play the flute or whatever it is, and it just keeps, he just can't do it. It's so funny. It's a laugh, makes me laugh every time.
The Marine Board's investigation will determine as closely as possible the factors that contributed to the incident so that proper recommendations for the prevention of similar casualties may be made.
What's wrong with Home Depot? Nothing. For the home. It's not Ocean Depot. That's the issue. He went to the wrong shop. It's fine for a kitchen.
Hearing is expected to last 2 weeks with other...
But this guy, is this guy a real guy? Is this like an AI or some shit? This voice and face does not match.
Other top OceanGate employees set to testify.
Something sus
In
about
New
this
York,
dude.
Connor Hansen, Fox News.
This is a lizard wearing somebody's skin, I think. That's what I'm saying. It's like an alien, and he got a job as a reporter. But he was watching too many episodes of the Colbert Report, and he was copying his accent. And that's why he just looks like an uncanny valley of this dude.
Thank you to Connor Hansen for that report. And in fact, that hearing is still going on right now regarding the implosion of the Titan Submersible. Let's go ahead and bring that for you next here on Live Now from Fox.
This would have been the end of...
Did anyone hear that? Can we play that back?
On Live Now from Fox.
This would have been the end.
Is the camera guy gooning? What was that? What was that? The guy on the control board is gooning, and they accidentally turned on his mic for a second.
Next here on Live Now from Fox.
He loves the marshmallow women. Oh my god.
This would have been the end of...
Yes, let's fucking go. Holy shit. Camera guy was cranking it to his shoes.
the 2022 season, about 4 dives before the end.
I gotta hear it one more time. Oh no, it's this guy. Is this guy talking? It was just a very bad cut into the video. Okay.
Next here
I gotta hear one more
on
time.
Live Now from Fox.
This would have been the end of the 2022 season, about 4 dives before the end.
I'm sorry, I'm a child. I can't help it.
I
Okay, so it's this guy's voice. It was just
don't
cut
know.
poorly.
No, sorry.
Are you familiar with the real-time monitoring system on board?
Only by name
I'm so happy.
and a description of what it does. It's an acoustic monitoring system. That's how they do it. Actually, I don't know. Are they using
I'm something of an autistic
like
monitor myself.
piezo crystals on the hull, or
Did he say pedo crystals on the hull? Are you using geo crystals on this? What did he say?
using, like piezo
piezo
crystals on the
Okay, piezo crystals. Okay.
hull, or are they embedded
Oh my
somewhere?
goodness.
That
Oh my
I don't
goodness.
know. Just that they have something.
Okay, thank you. That concludes my questions.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to go to the NTSB, please.
Thank you, sir, and I'll try to be brief.
Apparently, everybody knows what
we talked about
piezoelectric
class
crystals are.
surveys,
I have no idea
a
what they
while
are.
ago now. I'm curious, though, in addition to these class surveys, have you ever been involved with an inspection from a government agency, such as the Coast Guard, or maybe the MCA in the North Sea, or Transport Canada?
I like that this is American news. You're watching this. Charleston, South Carolina. Preston could be here live. We got to send a message to Preston to be our on the stream reporter. But I like how the American news watcher, he needs so much Fox News that he's watching the hearings from South Carolina. He's watching a pipeline fire in Deer Park, Texas, and then he's watching the Trump International Golf Course things. You got to watch all the news. This is like the boomer version of like having 3 screens, and they've all got different tabs open. It's having the 3 different news in news sections.
You mean working with them, or I don't quite understand.
So anywhere you've worked in the world, has the host country required some sort of regulatory inspection in addition to the class?
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Can you give me an example?
Well, like I said, when I was in New Zealand, we had everybody with an acronym was standing in line to check us on that one. So it was their
New Zealand,
Department of Health, their Department of their Marine Sanctuary. There was just too many to remember, but to be honest with you.
Too many Kiwi acronyms, yes.
Whenever you go to a different place, a different country, everybody has their own set of things that they want to be assured are addressed to their questions, I guess. So I haven't done, in many cases, when I've dove in different countries, I'm usually working for an employer. And so if that is done, it's probably done by either the operations director or such, but.
Let's speed this up so we can try and get through this. 1.25, let's go.
How much of the ship's crew, how much was the ship's crew involved, either on Polar Prince or Horizon Arctic?
This is why I typically don't do like court watchings, because their audio is shit. But we'll go through, see what they say here. Although I'm thinking about doing the Coburg hearings when those eventually happen. But I think they just changed their venue. But that's the one other legal case that I'm interested really at the moment. There's 2 legal cases I'm covering.
On the for the search, you mean? Or?
No, the normal operations. How much did the actual crew get involved?
Generally, what they supplied was methods to get our boats off and on the ship. They were not out on the platform. They basically helped us with grunt work. On the ship. I mean, if there's something we needed to pack or something, but no, they were not actually part of the ship's crew was not actually part of the launch.
How about with decision making as far as if the weather's too bad or something's not safe?
I mean, captains, there's God and then there's the captain. If he basically says that this is bad, he can.
They said in the interview that there was a 3-strike system, that if any 3 things went wrong, they would cancel it.
Overrun everything. There's also the ops director for the operation itself, and they are in contact with the captain to come up with these decisions.
Is that the same at other companies or other subs that you've worked with?
Pretty much everybody I've worked with, yes. There's always, the captain is.
Is this guy a subcontractor? I'm sorry. I'll make myself small again now.
King.
Is it normal, though, that the ship's crew is not involved with the submersibles?
Ship's crew is, the times that I've seen ship's crew actually do work with it is when the ship's crew are familiar and operate like, if it's a fixed facility, so it's a subtender. And it would be ship's crew then that's operating the A-frame or the tuggers or the tow lines or things like that. Yes, they do that type of work, but they never do anything that's actually connected with certifying that the sub is ready to dive.
Okay, thanks, sir. Thank you for your time.
All right, they're getting rid of
I just have a couple follow-up questions from your earlier
the guy that makes the weird sound.
testimony. You mentioned the dragging of the Titan during the Horizon Arctic operations, and I believe you said at some point you saw contact with either the Lars or the Titan's hull, and I wanted to clarify which one it was. I think you said you saw some hard contact, and could you clarify that?
Wait, are we talking about when I was just talking about them landing on the LRT? Or?
Actually, sir, this is when they were dragging the system back onto the deck of the Horizon Arctic.
Well, all right. So
Could
the way that was,
have got damaged in the
sub is already locked and on the LRT, and then they pulled the LRT up to this. This is on the Arctic Horizon. Right? They had this large.
It's like a pontoon, right?
Big steel ramp that went off the stern of the ship. It had rollers, things to make it theoretically come up the ramp very nice and kind. And there were a couple of times when they were pulling the Lars to the stern of the ship. You know that on the stern of the ship, that's the place that sees the most movement, the bow and the stern. So everything moves the most there. And so in this case, the ship was heaving a little bit, and that ramp would literally come up and out of water. And so they're trying to time pulling the LRT up onto this ramp while possibly the ramp is actually clearing the water. So you might, you run the risk of running into it. So it was there. So what I'm saying is that, yes, absolutely. When they pull the LRT
top
on
men
there,
working
did the ship
over
come
there.
up and bring the ramp up underneath the LRT? Yes. Did they have a rough entry possibly getting onto the ramp? Yes.
So to clarify, sir, would the contact be with the LRT or the hull of the Titan?
No, it was the LRT hitting the frame, hitting the frame, but the sub is sitting on the LRT. So I guess whatever shakes going on through there will translate vaguely to the sub as well.
Understand. Do you remember any instances where there was damage to the hull of or even to the
hull?
Or I'm sorry, to the parts associated with the hull?
Well,
We do have a bit of evidence of damage to the hull. This looks like it's been damaged a little bit. There's a bit of damage here, but the OceanGate logo looks like they used the good material there. Why don't they just make the sub out of the entire logo or something there?
Been hearing the
Oops, that's the whole 7 hours. That's not what we wanted.
Oh, there was at one point where the pad eyes that attach to the Lars. So for the towing, you got the hawser that goes out and connects to the 2 points. And while that was being pulled up, I think they had it. Where were they? It was just at the point where they had it, being recovered. It would have been the starboard forward pad eye. That starboard forward pad eye got ripped off the hull. It ripped the weld off. It pulled the whole pad eye off. This is sitting on the ship by now. It's but now since it got pulled off,
Yeah,
it's
I want
being pulled sideways.
critical.
So they had to re-rig it to
critical
pull it
pilot
all
back
the way
on. That guy
into
was
its
awesome.
sitting position. But it was not the nicest of. Wasn't the best way of.
I want to check the comments to see if anyone noticed the timestamp.
Where was that pad eye connected?
Pardon me?
Where was that pad eye connected to?
There we go.
The pad eye was attached to. There was basically you had the front of the LRT. It's on the outside forward. They had stiffening plates on the aluminum barge tanks. So there were stiffening plates there, and then a large pad eye that's welded on there that the hawser is connected to by a large shackle.
Thumbnail looks like impossible.
Understand. Thank you, sir.
We're listening here to day one of the hearings regarding the Titan Submersible implosion that really dominated the headlines last year. We do want to step away for a quick commercial break. Day one of hearings regarding the Titan Submersible implosion, that happened just last year. Let's head back to this event next.
This
Cool
today,
swipe.
or
It's not bad. Not bad.
your safety diver, or you're operating a platform, or it was only those choice between those two, really. So
She is a bit.
And
She's a
did
bit thick, but it's in the right way.
That
It's in the right
individual ask you if you were, for example, like if you're go for the dive today?
Oh, yes. They would make sure that everybody was, well, capable, not sick or whatever. I mean, yes, he would ask can you do this? Like, yes, I can.
Did he ask you if what you were about to do today for that weather on the given day, if you were good to go there? Now, as you mentioned fog on particular days where you couldn't work, would they ask your opinion about the safety of the operation that day?
It never even got to that stage. When it was that foggy, it was canceled before it even came down. I mean, this was decided by the
I like
captain
foggy
and
days.
The ops director. First thing, they get in contact with each other. So that the whole operation was basically negated from that decision of those two people.
So for the final dive 88, was there a toolbox meeting or a risk assessment meeting prior to starting dive operations?
It was the evening before, because everybody had to get out there at like 4 a.m. and they weren't going to wake up all the other passengers and people. So we had a toolbox talk. If it was a go by acceptable weather and things like that, all this remained. And the next day was a great day. I mean, it was calm, it was bright, it was clear. There was no fog whatsoever.
This is true.
We basically went ahead.
Thank you, sir. That's all I have. Thank you.
Sir, I have one final question. OceanGate?
Thank you. Mr. Catterson, just to clarify, for each dive, would you know who was responsible for each of the substantive tasks that needed to be executed in connection with the dive?
This is how I sit in my chip, by the way. He's just like me for real.
Sorry. For each dive, would you know who was responsible for each substantive task that needed to be executed in connection with the dive? Would you know who was responsible for which task before the dive?
You mean, okay, so who is responsible for each section?
For each task, for instance, the pilot or the operations lead.
Their name would have been mentioned, when we had the toolbox talk, the name would show up about that, who is doing what task on the sub. Now, whether I knew them or not was not always the case, but I think that's what you're meaning.
But you knew who was responsible for which task.
I knew that there was a person with a name was responsible for a particular job. Yes.
Isn't Silent Hill based on Centralia, Pennsylvania, technically burning, not smoking? I believe so. Like, that's a pretty cool story if you're unaware of it. Basically, they buried all their garbage in like the mines, right? And then they set fire to it. And then because of the way that it's so packed in, it's like just going to burn forever. And then like the smoke starts coming out of that's a pretty cool little urban place. Not urban legend, but like pretty cool little urban horror story, really. Very, very neat. Very neat, yeah. If you ever were into those Slender Man story, like back when it was original, the original one, like the Marble Hornets, before it became totally cringe, and they started doing all the Slender Man like merchandise and everything. I think in one of the episodes they actually did go to Centralia. I think it was entitled that, in fact. I've always wanted to go there, obviously with a gas mask or something, but it looks pretty neat from the photos that I've seen. Very, very cool place.
Thanks. Thank you.
Was the coal? Is that what's burning? The coal, not the garbage?
No further questions. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Catterson, I'm thinking back to your statement where you said
Maybe
you
it's a
raised
mix.
safety concerns with certain OceanGate employees, including Mr. Rush. Yeah. How many times did you raise that concern with Mr.
So hold on a second. So it's a coal mine. So they literally burned the coal and then the town paid the toll.
Rush about
That's
the
rough.
integrity of the carbon fiber hull. How many times?
A lot.
Approximately. I would say no less than half a dozen. I would say probably more than that. Just
Did you voice the concern that you felt that the hull would fail catastrophically?
I wasn't positive about what was going to happen, but I just said that I can't make my numbers equal what your numbers are saying. I can't make it. You know, I told him I think that it's underbuilt. I can't make the numbers work. And basically, well, you know, but he had engineers, not just one, but several of them that were working on this. Clearly, somebody knew what they were doing. And I'm assuming they were going to know more than I did because, you know, this was just what I came up with.
What was the general response from Mr. Rush?
What's that? Oh, his response was basically that. He said, I have several engineers working on this and they say otherwise. I'm like, well, okay, there it is. I still, you know, we agree to disagree, but.
Is there anything that you'd like to provide to the board?
Don't find this guy very
information-wise
convincing.
That we may have missed?
I feel like I should blame it all on him,
Um,
just because he's a shifty character in court. This is why I can't be on a jury.
I'm just wondering if there's any information that you think would be beneficial to the investigation that we may not have covered today.
Those are very cool, actually. Yes.
Um,
The gates of hell in Turkmenistan.
After,
But not just the Turkmenistan, the Turkwomenistan, and
after we
the
found the sub,
Turkwomenistan too.
after the sub was found, I went from doing search and rescue, and then I transferred over to the Arctic Horizon and then proceeded with recovery. So basically, by the request of the CEO of Pelagic Services, I stayed, well,
Pelagic's a
actually,
good
I
word.
jumped ship halfway through
I
and
like
caught the other one back. that
Pelagic
was
horrors,
going out with
nightmares from beneath the
the Subsalve Group, Phoenix, the Navy. We just happened to, phone call came at the right time and they just happened to be passing. And so I went from the Polar Prince to that ship and went back out on site and stayed out there on the horizon while we were doing the recovery. I was there mostly to help them to decide, are these dangerous items here, such as the high pressure tank that was down there? What exactly should they be looking for? So things like that. So I was basically out there to kind of point out, get this, or, you know, can we do this type of stuff on what to bring up. And so when we did this, we recovered the forward dome, the two rings.
So the dome was
we weren't
okay.
able to bring up, but at that particular time, because they ran out of time. And we brought up the tailpiece and some parts of the skids and, you know, various pieces and bits, which you've probably seen.
So yeah, that must be before they picked this up. So literally the dome in the front, the glass dome, was actually stronger than the carbon fiber. That's great. That's insane. Oops.
Out of this, I think I saw it as it came up and went on the deck. Literally, I got I was literally positioning them on the deck at times for them to tie it down. And the things that I saw on that gave me reason to believe that I feel I know where the failure was. Seeing how the media had like a field day with misinformation and speculation and downright completely wrong approaches. You know, I felt that there was a big discredit going to the public because the media was, well, there were some bad players out there that were just passing around a lot of wrong information, I felt. And so what I found and what I feel is that the implosion happened instantaneously, that it was not the viewport that failed because there was no shards, there was no viewport, there's nothing. The viewport was blown out, it's out there somewhere still. And that the failure happened at the forward glue line
The media
at the
blew up the
ring.
sub just for views. That's what
This
they did.
is,
It was an inside job.
You probably already, I mean, I know Tom already has a fair idea about, what I think about this, but if it hasn't been said, it is now. That this is how I think the failure happened, is why that glue line failed. Cyclic fatigue of the glue. Every time they go and do a dive, the hull
Here's
would
a visualization
collapse
while
in
we
the
were listening
center.
to this guy.
Not a lot, nothing you would actually see with your eye, but it's still enough that the outside.
Is this
edge
how
would
you sit in your
cantilever
computer
out.
chat?
Basically, it was when it was squeezed down in the center, it was forced to try to rotate tortally. And I think the water got in through there, worked its way down until the final point when there was not enough glue line, there was not enough support by that titanium edge on the inside to maintain the pressure integrity. And it had to have happened equally all the way around that ring, because
the jam is
on
unsalvageable.
The forward ring, on the very inside, that inside tab, go out and look at it, touch it, run your hand across it. It has been sheared off completely all the way around inward. The only way that would happen is if it all happened at once. If it happened partially at some place, it would have ripped and tore and then equalized in there, and this other piece, the other remaining piece of that material would stay intact.
They spared no
that is
expense,
not
but
the
they couldn't
case.
afford flex tape.
It is on the aft end, but not on the forward end. That thing was sheared off smooth. So this had to happen extraordinarily fast, which means
Yeah, if there's any consolation for the deaths of these people, is apparently it happened in such a time frame that they wouldn't have been able to register pain or any idea what was happening. Now they may have heard like creaking sounds or something, we don't know, but the moment that there was actually a puncture in it, it was less than like a tenth of a second is what I've heard. I don't know if that's true, but I assume it was faster than the human pain response. So at least it was mercifully quick.
the people in there had no idea this was coming. I just want to make sure that, you let the public know.
That's
that
the waiting is the hardest part, I suppose. That's the worst part.
nobody was suffering in there.
Not the horrible gemifying
As a matter of
death.
fact,
but
they were
the
probably
waiting.
happy they were all waiting to see the Titanic when this happened. So that would be it.
Thank you, sir. Does the board or anybody have any further questions for Mr. Patterson? Okay. Mr. Patterson, thank you for your testimony. You are now released as a witness at this formal hearing. If I later determine that this board needs additional information from you, I will contact you directly. If you have any questions about this investigation, you may contact the investigation recorder, Lieutenant Kelly Steele. Okay. Also,
Steel, like the
that
metal
adjourns,
they should have used in the
proceedings
sub.
for today.
In Titanic.
We will reconvene tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. And we have one witness scheduled tomorrow. It's Mr. David Lockridge. Thank you and have a good night.
All right, court is adjourned for the day regarding that hearing with the Titan Submersible that imploded last year, really dominating the headlines in 2023. I do have a couple of tweets that I want to showcase for you regarding this entire situation. This first one here, we
I hope they show this tweet. The one of them turning into jam. Let's see if they play that one. Let's see if they have the courage to play it.
have, courtesy of Fox News. It says, Titan Submersible crew said, quote, all good here, in final messages moments before vessel imploded. That's according to the U.S. Coast Guard. And then we also have this, a tweet from the New York Post saying, the engineer of doomed Titan Submersible, I 100% felt pressured to get it operating. We're going to continue with some more coming out of that hearing. Again, it's expected to last a couple of weeks or so.
So the entire hearing for like day one is like 8 hours. I don't think that I can sit through it all. It's a little bit long for me, I think. But there is one man that is going to sit through the entire hearing, I believe, for the entire week. And that is going to be Jeff, Legal Vice's Jeff. So he's streaming about this right now. So if you want to hear more of this testimony, it looks like they're listening to Scottish Boy Man. I'm going to send you over there, but I think that's it for me. But it's been fun to relive the events of this. And we'll probably be back on... Oh, wait, Sean's on? Is Sean on? I don't know. But as for me, they've started... I think they've started playing the music. That means they want me to get off the stream. That means we have to go, chat. It's been fun. Don't go on submarines, you'll turn into spaghetti. I'll see you next time, stream.